You know how much money I got right here? This is $100,000. So it's 10 grand, 10 grand, 10 grand. This is 100,000. This is how much money I want to make when I do a deal. And the only way you make that kind of money on a very simple elementary single family home is if you're buying in the right markets, because half of your ROI, half of this money comes from buying in the first place. Because I don't just buy in any backyard. And in today's video, I'm going to share with you the 4 markets I am buying in, but also the 10 markets you have to avoid at all costs.
One shot, not a future for sure. Let's go. I'm turning dreams into reality. Yeah. It's one shot, not a future for sure. Let's go.
Check it out. Today we're talking about the game of real estate, but more importantly, where you should be buying. We're going to talk about my top real estate markets, because check it out. Here around the world, there are places where you definitely do not want to buy real estate. In fact, 19 out of 20 markets I don't even want to set foot in. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the strategy or the type of real estate. It really comes down to that old adage: location, location, location. It is more important than ever before for you to be super conscientious of where you're buying real estate. Why? Because of a coming correction. Many recent headlines have been proclaiming a major housing correction. Moody's recently released an article claiming that there are now 210 U.S. housing markets at risk of a 15 to 20% home price decline. Out of 421 metropolitan areas, this represents half of all major cities, which just basically means half of anywhere in the United States that you could be investing is probably a bad idea. But more important, you shouldn't just be picking real estate based on what will appreciate or potentially go down in value. There's a lot more things to the proper strategy. It has to do with the size of your market. What is in that particular market? What's the population? Is it growing? Is it declining? Are people migrating to that part of the country? What is the industry? What's the economy doing? There's so many big picture things to be looking at. So today I'm gonna make it super simple, but let's just start with the areas that are declining the most, because I can promise you one thing: I ain't buying there.
That's sheer insanity. I'm out.
I'm out.
I'm out.
Hey, I'm out.
I'm out.
Do you remember not very long ago when we had this thing called the pandemic, and it was kind of crazy and the world fell apart and people went crazy and all this garbage information started flying around? Well, during that period of time, we had a supply chain issue that impacted real estate in a really negative way, because all of a sudden people are like, wait a second, rates are really, really low. If I'm not going to be working, where I work and I'm going to work from home, I need a different kind of home. So all of a sudden we saw everyone wanting to go into the real estate market, get something different. And we started missing millions of homes. I mean, we were already behind, but then we got like crazy behind. And what it did is it created a crazy spike in real estate. It's also the fact that the government printed trillions of dollars that we didn't have. And they couldn't back it by anything. And what that did is that also started the process of inflation. Well, real estate prices went up on average around the country about 50% over a 24-month period of time. That means that some of those areas are now overvalued. In fact, here's the top overvalued markets according to the Mortgage Professional of America. Boise, Idaho, 73% overvalued. That means that if you take a look at this here, and if this is what the home is worth, what you should buy for it, it's like, it's overvalued by that much, which means, boom, that market is primed for a correction. But you also have Austin, Texas, 68%, Ogden, Utah, and right here, 65%, Vegas, 61%, Atlanta, Georgia, and Phoenix, 58%. Provo, another Utah market, 57%. Florida of Fort Myers, 56%. Spokane, Washington, 56%. Salt Lake City, Utah hitting the third time at 56%. And so we basically have these top markets around the country where they're overinflated. Each one of these numbers is by over 50%. That is a really scary number, because in principle, that means if a house is worth, $300,000, it should be worth $200,000. That's what a 50% correction would look like. And if we were to see that big of a correction, that would make 2008 look like it's coming alive all over again. Most people are going to say, Kris, this sounds like really, really bad news. And I'm like, this isn't bad news. This is healthy. A correction means we went too far in one direction. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of you and me that have benefited from that. You may be sitting on a house with record amounts of equity. Right now, we have a record high amount of equity in the country that we've never had before. It's $185,000. In fact, just last year alone, the average equity went up by $51,000. So There are some people that are getting home equity lines of credit. They're taking that money out and they're starting to invest it. I think that's a really smart plan. I think that's something that people should be doing, but most people aren't. They're gonna be like, oh, on paper, I'm worth more money. I feel good about myself. And then the market correction, like, oh, the number went down. Now I don't feel so good about myself. I'm like, man, why don't you do something real intangible that you can actually do about this? Why don't you take some of that hard asset out and go do something? By the way, do I think that the market is going to correct to pre-COVID? No, the market is not going to do that. But you definitely are going to have some of these overvalued markets come down. And the question is, where should you be buying real estate if that happens? Well, let me first tell you what I did the last time we had a correction like this, which was back in 2008.
I'm sold 3008, you sold 2000 and late.
2008, we saw a huge correction in the market and everyone said, oh my gosh, like real estate is the worst thing. You shouldn't be investing in it. You should run from it. And I'm like, are you sure about that? Because I'm pretty sure that if you're counter-cyclical to everyone else, you're going to win where everyone else is losing. And that's exactly what happened. I went into the markets that were hardest hit. Ironically, Phoenix was on that list back then again. Vegas was on that list back then again. And so was some of the markets of Florida. And you know what we did? We went into those 3 specific markets and started taking out thousands of homes. What had happened is when the market goes down, people say this mortgage isn't worth it. They give it up to the bank. It becomes a foreclosure. And then the bank's like, shoot, we're in the business of lending on real estate. We actually don't want to own real estate. So we better fire sell that out. And guys like me, maybe like you, if you're a subscriber on my channel and picking up a few things, this is where we get some of our best deals on some of the newest beautiful types of real estate. And here's the crazy thing. Even though the price temporarily drops, because remember, the value of a home is what someone's willing to pay. And we have people that are not willing to pay right now because guess what the government has done? Right, everyone's like pinching their sphincter right now because rates just continue going up and up. And they've announced through next year they're going to keep doing the same. And so if rates go up to 6 and then 7 and then 8%, frankly, that's actually normal-ish interest rates. But since 2008, we've all had basically free money at like 2, 3, 4%. We're kind of used to that. And people forget, they've got really short memories, that 7, 8% is actually great for investing. There's great money to make in that. So what I did then is we bought thousands of homes. Within 5 years, those homes reevaluated $100 million higher. I promised myself, Kris, if you ever see that happen again in the market at your young age, you better go in 10 times bigger. Don't go for $100 million of profits, go for $1 billion. And you know what? That's exactly what I'm doing right now. So, by the way, I'm about to share with you the 4 hottest markets that you can be investing in, and here's what I want you to be thinking. Could I go into those markets and buy real estate? And if the answer is no, but you want to, then pay attention for the end of the video because you might be able to partner with me. And I got a team of experts that will go into those markets like I do every day, and we will buy up the very best real estate, and I'll show you how to win. The first market that I love to buy in, this comes straight from Redfin, Orlando, Florida. Check this out. Orlando has a growing population of elderly citizens who make excellent renters because they have the means and they treat properties well. While the typical Orlando home costs $362,000, prices increased by 15.8% last year, and signs indicate that their value will continue to increase. Why? Because this is the #1 state in the country that people are migrating to. Yes, when people retire, for some reason, Florida it is that the state of the orange? I don't know, but they love all of the golfing there. They love the master plan communities. They love the ocean. They love the Orlando area. Here, right here, Central Florida, away from the hurricanes and everything else, this is where we're seeing the most increases in the valuation on real estate. Rents are definitely keeping up. And for the last near decade, this has been one of my sweet spots. And as long as population continues to increase the way it is and create a demand there significantly higher than anywhere else in the country, you're going to see that I'm going to continue buying there. But I'm not buying homes for $362,000. My average price is well under $250,000. This is that market that's going to be the next New York, the next California. It's going to go up really, really big. And I'm going to keep riding that game as long as the indicators keep saying buy. And right now, they're flashing hardcore green. Buy, buy, buy. Buy, buy, buy. Bentonville, Arkansas, what's even out there? Like, isn't that just like corn?
It's cold. A big corn Vietnam.
Check it out. Bentonville, Arkansas is home to both Walmart and Tyson Foods. With 5 colleges and universities close by, this is a diverse and growing city with high rent demand. Though Bentonville's home values are around $450,000, nearby areas like Fayetteville, where I like to buy, sell for $335,000, making this definitely an ideal, what I call cash flow market. It's not going to grow the way Florida does, but it makes up for it in the cash flow game. And because of the industry and what's happening here, it's dependable. Those rents are really, really strong. This makes sense if you're interested in looking at real estate from an ROI perspective, meaning Don't get attached to the strategy. Like I say, short-term buy and sell. I'm gonna hold this home for 5, 6, 7 years. I'm gonna buy it below the median, blah, blah, blah. That's all good. That's the strategy. Or you can get caught up in the location, but you should be asking this question, Kris, what's the ROI? And for me, I'm averaging between 30 and 40% a year on my money. Compare that for a moment to 401ks and IRAs that on their 30-year average are pulling in 5 or 6%. I'm kicking their trash. I can make millions in real estate with those kind of ROIs compounding every single year. So why this area? It's about the ROIs. For the last few years, Memphis, Tennessee has treated me very, very well. It's another one of my cash flow markets. Check it out. Memphis has been and continues to be a consistent cash flow area with a steady job market and good home affordability. As of September 2022, the median sales price in Memphis is $205,000, still far below the national median of $403,000. In other words, real estate here costs half, but when you actually compare how strong its rent market is to the rest of the country, what you have is the lowest price per rent per square foot, which means this is a really, really smart cash flow market. And finally, we've got Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I just like the shape of the state. I think it's kind of cool. Just kidding. Home to Hobby Lobby, Sonic, and Love's, Oklahoma City has a stable job market as well as several universities. Properties in Oklahoma City are inexpensive, mainly due to a large amount of developing flatland. The median home sales price sits right around $257,000 with a steady 9.4% growth year over year as of September 2022. Now, you're gonna notice something about what I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about like luxury real estate. I'm not talking about multifamily, clearly. I'm not talking about fixing and flipping. You see, when I do a short-term buy and hold for 5, 6, 7 years on a home priced below the median that has great rent and great appreciation, has the right kind of tenants and a number of other factors I won't go into in this video, what that does is it becomes an equation for ROI. And remember, ROI, or your return on investment, is made up of a few primary objectives. What will that home perform as far as appreciation goes? If I put renters in there, what's my cash on cash from the rent that they give me after paying all my expenses? And then I have something called principal reduction. This is my renters are actually paying off the house for me. Most people in their lifetime will consider their house their best investment. What do I mean by that? I mean that when you're in your 60s, the average person has $200,000 saved up in a 401k or an IRA. But the average equity is higher than that. Which means after all of their years of working, 40 years of working and throwing money in a retirement account, they actually performed better on just buying and holding real estate that they slowly paid off. Well, if that's true, let's just say that your average equity at retirement's $250,000. What would happen if you just bought 3 more homes? A quarter plus a quarter plus a quarter plus a quarter is $1 million, which is why the average millionaire makes it in the game of real estate. And you should be asking yourself, what's the smartest kind of real estate that I can buy that will perform safe and secure and yet compound really powerfully so that over the next 10 or 20 years, I wind up a multimillionaire while I'm busy raising a family and focusing on my career? That's what we're talking about. And these 4 markets are key to a really strong ROI. This is the strangest ending of a video I've ever made before. I'm inviting you to rip me off. Like, what if I was willing to show you all my trade secrets? What if all the money that I've been making in real estate the last 20 years I revealed? Guess what? This document shows my last several thousand homes, everything that I've learned in my exact system on where I buy real estate, how I buy it out of state, how I use other people's money to do it. And if you want to get this document for free, all you got to do is click the link below, cover the shipping on it. In other words, I'll send this out to you, and this will show you my strategy, my system, where I'm buying, why, exactly, and then guess what? All of the addresses. So you know what? You can do your due diligence and check it out. Here's my invitation. Copy me. Because if you like making $100,000 in real estate, you're gonna love making millions of dollars. And it's not hard. It's something that is fairly passive. It happens on the side, but you gotta have a roadmap based on someone that's done a couple $1 billion in real estate. And I'm giving it to you for free. So click the link, grab a copy, rip me off, win. Okay, Kris, these are the markets where you're buying real estate, but how do you find the deals? Well, turns out I have 17 secrets on how I do that. But if you want to know my top 3 secrets for how I find really good deals, click this link, watch this video, and I'll show you. Actually based on, what's that thing called? Supply chain. Let's try it again.